The Mi Pad 5 Pro, well, here it is. This is the Chinese model that I did import in. I got this from a company called Giztop, and unfortunately, you can probably see I don't have the keyboard or the stylus. I am waiting for those. So with the Mi Pad 5 Pro here, we do have, of course, a ROM that's just in Chinese and English, but you can install Google Play and it does work with this. Now this one has a 50 megapixel camera on the rear of it. It does support up to 65 watt charging and it's all powered by the Snapdragon 870. This model here that I got has 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of UFS 3.1 storage. The screen on it, so this is a 120 Hertz, 11 inches, 2560 by 1600 is the resolution. It's a great screen and I'll get into that in detail, exactly what you can expect out of the Mi Pad 5 Pro here. So here's the unboxing part. It's not a lot to show you. The box itself is black, very thin, and why is it so thin? Well, it doesn't actually have a charger or anything. You can see here Dolby Vision Atmos, so yes, it does support that. Now when you open it up, obviously the tablet would be there, and then there's just a little bit of paperwork here. That is it. So no charger included with this Chinese version. According to my scales, the tablet does weigh 515 grams. You can see right here, we've got our camera and there's a depth sensor next to it. So this is 50 megapixels and a 5 megapixel depth sensor, dual tone LED flash. Now this camera does protrude out by approximately 2.5 millimeters. Total thickness of this is really good. It's about 7. So all up with the camera, yeah, that brings it up to almost about 10 millimeters. So lightweight, good quality. This is a plastic on the back of it. I do like the finish. It's matte and you can see a few fingerprints and smudges on it now here. You can even see where I removed the sticker that's on the back there with the serial number. And I have intentionally not cleaned it just to show you that, yeah, it does pick up smudges and get a little bit dirty. So I would probably go for the white color if you want it to look clean and not show those fingerprints. Now looking at it from this side here, very slim as you can see. So this is our power button. It does have a built-in fingerprint reader. Now it's not always on. It is capacitive, but you actually have to press it in before it reads and then unlocks. But it's very quick and I'll show you that shortly. So the Dolby Vision Atmos speakers, we've got 2 on this side on the left and another 2 on the right. Microphone right here, some antenna lines. This is alloy, the frame around the outside. Now this part right here you can see is black. That's actually plastic that's around the outside of the screen. And here we see we've got a Type-C port there. Now the microphone, more antenna lines, and another 2 of those speakers. Now this Type-C port does support Quick Charge 4, Power Delivery 3, and up to 65 watts with the Chinese Mi Pad 5 Pro here. It does not support, however, video out, which is disappointing for a tablet. And then up the top of the Mi Pad 5 Pro here, we've got another 2 microphones, volume up and down buttons, some more antenna lines right there for the Wi-Fi. So this does have a really good build to it. It feels very, very premium. Power buttons as well, they don't feel cheap. Down the bottom there is a Pogo port pin connector, 3 there. That is for the keyboard, which sadly, as I mentioned, I don't have yet, or the stylus, and another 2 antenna lines. So the screen does run at 120 Hertz by default. You can change it to 60 if you want to, and I'll get into the settings shortly, but let's just talk a little bit about what the screen looks like here and exactly how bright it is. So very bright under the current settings that I have, and the touch response is excellent. So you will notice that because it's an IPS panel, that the blacks won't be as deep as an OLED, but for IPS, they're not too bad at all. Now, when you have a look at whites, for example, you'll see that right on the corners, that the pixels are sometimes a little bit dimmer, right at the very edges, but it's not too bad at all. The resolution means the screen looks very sharp. These are the black colors right now, and they look deep. Okay, for an IPS, not bad. They're still, okay, not gonna match an OLED, but I think for an IPS panel, they do look very good. Here is our whites, even though it's stayed in green colors for some reason. And the touch response, triggering those gestures, really not a problem there. So I'll show you some of the advanced settings here that I do like with this particular tablet. There's a lot. You see with MIUI 12.5 that it's laid out correctly for a tablet under display. Dark mode, you can schedule it. Brightness level is where you will find the sunlight mode. So when it is in direct sunlight, and this is enabled, even without it enabled, the screen brightness tops out at over 600 nits. It can be made out in direct sunlight because it's fully laminated as well. There's no screen protector on it. I do find the display does look quite clear out in direct sunlight, and the ambient light sensor with this one does work particularly well. So refresh rate, you can toggle that. So there's no 90 hertz setting, unfortunately, which I would have liked, which is the sweet spot between the battery saving and the fluidity. But I keep it on 120 hertz. I'm seeing absolutely no flicker coming through with this screen too, which is great. So you can change it, the color balance, okay, you've got vivid, saturated, white balance down there, and adaptive colors. There's a lot of things you can do with this. You can see here the options we've got: enhanced, original, P3, sRGB, and this is really good. I love to see all these settings so you can just tweak that display to where you love to have it. Now this tablet does have the fingerprint unlocking, face unlocking. The camera's right here and it works okay. The fingerprint reader, you do need to, if you just press it like now, you see nothing happens with my thumb, but if I press in, it then unlocks. And it is fast, okay? It's fast, it's accurate. It's just a shame that this fingerprint reader is not the always on type like some of Xiaomi's phones. While most of them that have the side fingerprint readers, it's always on. So I just press that again, so that's off. Tapping it, nothing happens. And if I press in and tap, it then scans, unlocks, and that is very quick. So I'm on the latest MIUI 12.5 patch here, which of course is for the Chinese ROM. So this ROM only has English and Chinese. So that's why I would say it's probably best to wait for the global version of this particular tablet, which is rumored to be coming out. Everyone says it's coming out. So I will wait off and hold off for that. And then of course you've got Google Play support built in. Now it is here. I've installed it, the APK file for Google Play Store. And all you need to do is just get that. You can sideload it or download it, install it. Google Play works fine, give it its permissions, and away you go. So bloatware, there is a little bit of Chinese bloat with some certain applications. I uninstalled and cleaned all of those up. There are about 7 or 8 of them, and some notifications came through in Chinese, but you simply need to block that. The internal storage on this 128 gigabyte model, UFS 3.1 speeds, very, very good. Look at those random reads and writes. They are, wow, so quick, getting up to almost 300 megabytes per second there is excellent to see. Wildlife score here, so this is 3D Mark, average of just over 25 frames per second, a score over 4,000. That's good for this chipset, just like the Antutu score here, really good. Now this score here is beating some Snapdragon 888 phones. It just shows you how good the Snapdragon 870 is. In fact, it is my favorite chip. The thermals on this one are so much better than the 888, while still offering very good performance, as you can see from that. And this here too, which is Geekbench 5, a decent score there. And our wireless. So for some reason, I can't get on to wireless 6 here with my router. It doesn't want to see it for some reason. I think it's a ROM issue. I think in China, they use a slightly different frequency there for Wi-Fi 6. That's probably what's causing it. But even so, on wireless 5, so wireless AC, very good speeds. And the wireless here, I have to comment on, the range is excellent. It is really, really good. I mean, I can go outside my house and still be able to get decent speeds and coverage where other tablets, like the cheaper ones I review, would simply fail. So when I tested that out, I was using the dual band mode, okay? So that's connecting up to a Wi-Fi AC and Wi-Fi N at the same time there. So battery life runtime, this is our fixed benchmark, okay? So 200 nits of brightness, it just runs until it gets to 20% from being fully charged, 14 hours. Very good. This means in real life, you're looking around 10 to 11 hours. This is at 120 hertz. So I did another test too with that battery life and just used it by myself, what I would normally do, without having that benchmark running, okay? So I ran like Netflix, I was watching that, I was in Chrome, all sorts of things like that. And I managed to get here, you can see almost 9 hours, and I still had some battery left in this. So it's definitely possible, because I was using quite a high brightness, possible to get 10, 11, maybe even more out of this, out of the 8,600 milliamp hour battery. It is very, very good. Charge times. So there's no charger included, but I used the 67 watt charger I have for the Mi 11 Ultra, and to go from 20 to 100% was 49 minutes, which is so good for a tablet. That's really quick. 12% on this other charge to 100 in only 55 minutes. Again, for a tablet, that is so fast. So really quick to charge, just under 1 hour to fully charge. Quite a large battery capacity is excellent. And here we do have Camera 2 API support for the 50 megapixel camera, the front one, level 3, so that's maximum support, that is good. And yes, Widevine level 1 security cert. However, Netflix does show this, okay? Standard definition. Widevine level 3. According to this one, DRM is widevine level 3. So, yeah, not good. Amazon Prime Video is also only just standard definition. So I think, again, with the global model, the global ROM, that should not be a problem. We should have then Full HD because such a nice screen, you really don't want to be watching movies and TV series in standard definition. GPS, hardware compass, signal strength is good. And for a tablet, I think this would be quite a good one for those that need it for navigation, for GPS, if you're a boatie, whatever. It does work well with this tablet. Now, ebooks, PDF files like this one here, this is in Google Books. It does look really good, okay? On the screen, it's sharp, and you will not get tired eyes. The screen is sharp enough for that. It's bright enough for that too. But you can also filter out the blue light. You can change this, invert the colors to black and white with Google Books, and it is ideal for this. Of course, I'm just using it in landscape mode, but you can use it too in portrait. So for ebooks, PDF files, and the weight of this tablet do make it comfortable. I mean, it's only just over 500 grams, so that is perfect for holding for long periods. It's not a heavy tablet. It won't tire your arm out. Onto audio. So sadly, there is no 3.5mm headphone jack, so you need to use the Type-C adapter to 3.5, which actually is not included, okay? So you need to buy one of those separately. I've tested it out. It sounds really good. And what else sounds good is the loudspeakers on this. So they are Dolby Atmos ones. So 4 speakers in total, 2 either side. They are loud. They've got bass to them. They're rich. They've even got a little bit of treble, good mids. Here's a sample of them now at 100% volume. And this is the video from the front-facing 8-megapixel camera with an f2.0 aperture. Looks quite good. The audio is good. And you'll notice as I move about a little bit here that I'm actually holding this. This is not in a tripod. We have electronic image stabilization with this front-facing camera. So it is very similar to what we get on Xiaomi phones. They use electronic image stabilization now with their front-facing cameras at 1080p. And that is exactly what we have here with this particular Mi Pad 5 Pro front-facing camera. And over to our cameras now. So we do have a reasonably good sensor on the back of this. So it is 50 megapixels, can take a decent photo for a tablet. And now the video quality, so this is 4K 30 frames per second maximum with electronic image stabilization. So it's very similar on what we get on some of the phones from Xiaomi. This is great to see in a tablet. I know a lot of people won't be using the cameras on a tablet for these kind of purposes, but at least we do have that option. It's not quite as good as a phone, but still, again, for a tablet, I find this quality is pleasing. Onto our gaming performance. So a game like Genshin Impact here, this is on the absolute top settings, so 60 frames per second, highest visuals. It is running really well, and most of the time it is running at 60 frames per second. So if you swipe here from the top left hand side, you see 60 at the moment, so that's great. And this is using the Game Turbo. You can also clear out the RAM, take screenshots, screen capture, video, and do not disturb and things like that. I've gone over that in previous videos. Still with the software, been around for a while. But this performance, excellent, very, very good on the maximum settings. And because it's a tablet and not a phone, it doesn't get anywhere near as hot as some of those phones I've been testing this game out. So I'm going to move over now and test out PUBG, and we'll see how that performs on the Mi Pad 5 Pro. So PUBG does let us play on the extreme frame rate option if you use smooth, balanced, or HD. Let's jump into some gameplay and see just how it fares. And absolutely no surprises here. It's handling PUBG with absolute ease. It's a constant 60 frames per second. The tablet's barely getting even warm with this game because it's really not demanding at all for it. So locked at 60 frames per second, it is, if I take a look here at our Game Turbo, constant 60 frames per second. And when you look down the sights, there's no lag, there's no problems with that, which is good to see. And you do expect this with this kind of chipset, and then with the 6 gigabytes of RAM, yeah, it is running flawlessly. So hopefully they're going to add support for 90 frames per second or 120 frames per second with this tablet would be great. It's super immersive with the speakers, and playing on an 11-inch tablet is really good for this type of game and this style of game. And one last thing here with the tablet. So it's very light. It's only just over 500 grams. It's nice and thin, around about 7 millimeters. And here in Chrome, very, very fast. That scrolling speed, really good. Performance as expected. Now, when you do bring up the on-screen keyboard, this is Google's Gboard. I do find typing on it is fine, especially in portrait here. It's quite easy just to use my thumbs, and I'm not really having any issues with it. So hopefully later on, I will be able to get hold of the keyboard and the stylus and also cover that in a separate video. And I do apologize that I don't have it, but as I mentioned, it just simply seems to have sold out and very hard to get hold of at the moment. All right, so let's go over the good things and the bad things about the Mi Pad 5 Pro here, what I do like about it. So build quality, excellent. Really good weight. This is nice and light, just over 500 grams. Very, very thin. It feels premium. Metal frame around the outside. Really good speakers. Very good screen. Even though it's IPS, I would have preferred it to be OLED. It's still a very good screen. So 600 nits maximum brightness, 2560 by 1600 resolution. Looks sharp. It's fully laminated. Very responsive to touch. The UI performance is great. It feels fast and fluid thanks to that 120 Hz refresh rate we've got with this screen. Now, with my 6 gigabytes of RAM, I find performance is adequate. You can multitask quite well with this. Sadly, as I mentioned, no keyboard, no stylus. That's a big part of this particular tablet here, which currently I don't have. But that'll be coming in another video. I will try to cover that for all of you out there. So the things that aren't so good about this tablet, well, sadly there's no micro SD card support, no 3.5mm headphone jack, no video out of the Type-C port. That's a shame. So competitors like Lenovo's tablets that I've covered in the channel, Samsung's, they support display out. So you can get a clone display video out, which is very good to have, or even a desktop mode. Sadly, Xiaomi is lacking in that area. The fingerprint reader, it's a shame that it's not always on. You have to press it in, but it does work well. We have also face unlocking with this, which is another great feature there. 65 watt fast charging too is a positive. That is so quick. In fact, this is the fastest tablet I have reviewed in the channel that with this charge rates. Under 1 hour for an 8,600 milliamp hour battery. That is really good. Most of the tablets I review, the cheaper ones, will take 3 hours, even over 3 hours to fully charge because they only support about 15 watts or 18 watts maximum charge rates. And that, of course, at 65 is just so much quicker. Now, this is, of course, a Chinese import version. There is a possible Mi Pad 5 Pro that's coming out, or Mi Pad 5 for a global version, and I would probably hold off and wait for that. Why? A big one for a lot of people, and for me personally too, is while it does have a Widevine Level 1 cert with this, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, as I showed you, they are in, sadly, standard definition. Okay, so we're missing out on full HD. And with such a lovely screen and great speakers, I really want to see my TV series and movies and everything in full HD. So I think the global ROM version, the global version when that's released locally here in Europe, hopefully it's coming, fingers crossed, that should fix that problem. So that's a reason I would just definitely hold off, I think. Wait and see what is going to happen. So thank you so much for watching my review here. Well, partial review because it's just the tablet of the Mi Pad 5 Pro. The Chinese ROM, of course. And I do hope to get the keyboard and the stylus. So make sure you do subscribe, enable the bell, notifications, so you don't miss out on that video when I do eventually get them.